Aloha, as Tulsi Gabbard might say. This is a new channel, and looking back at the few videos I've made, I realized that I don't have one where I address this drama directly. I've got profiles of the major players in it, but this video, as the title states, will be my definitive opinion on what happened. So, this saga, I would say, is a saga of two parts. The first one is the Force the Vote saga, which did not include Aaron Matei, and the second was the smear campaign, which was very much an Aaron Matei, Jimmy Dore collaboration. So, Force the Vote was a campaign that Jimmy Dore brought up. Now, it was not his original idea, as he'll say. This is something that a lot of people have brought up before. It was a DSA strategy, apparently, but it's been scrubbed from their handbook ever since Dore suggested it. But the Force the Vote saga starts in maybe October, maybe a little earlier, where Jimmy Dore was having a public Twitter spat with Anna. So Anna and Jimmy had an argument because Anna is pro-censorship. She is an imperialist, as we all know by now. She's blocking everybody on Twitter. She got me. My handle's Arab Grifter. And that was the whole thing. They were arguing about how censorship is wrong. And Jimmy says censorship is bad. You can't have big tech police free speech. He said that they should just stay out of it. They should not be allowed to do any sort of censorship. While Anna, because she is on the establishment side, has no problem with censorship because she knows, again, that she will never be censored, more or less. So in October, right before the election, an article I think that Anna had co-writing credits for in Jacobin magazine was blocked by Facebook. And Jimmy Dore goes, ha, he does his long ha, I don't want to do it. But that was it. He did a big ha at her. Not like literally, but he basically thumbed his nose at her because he was saying, this is what I was talking about. They will come for you eventually. She did not like that. While Jimmy's always, as far as I know, been anti-censorship, she says that he's a grifter. For some reason, being consistent is a grifter in Anna's mind. So, that, I think, was the kindling for what came later, which was in December, when Jimmy Dore looked at the landscape with the Democrats pushing for the 2 Georgia seats and so on. He came up with the strategy, not original, to force a vote. Now, what was Force the Vote? Force the Vote was an idea that pivoted on the squad, the fraud squad. Okay, those 4 congresswomen who are just not really the squad, they're just fakes. But it pivoted on them putting pressure on Nancy Pelosi, the 100 millionairess, okay, the aunt of Gavin Newsom, the daughter of the former governor of California, maybe, I don't know what his job was, mayor of New York, I don't know, maybe that's, I think, the Cuomo's dad was a New York mayor, I think hers was probably a California governor. Don't quote me on those, go look it up, it's public information. The point being, they're all in a big club and you ain't in it. But his idea was that you have to, as the squad, as the alleged progressives, put pressure on Nancy Pelosi to have a floor vote for Medicare for all. This was not something that was going to go anywhere, and this was understood. This could not have hurt anyone, because there were not going to be enough votes to make sure that Medicare for all would pass, and on top of which, the Senate would not have passed it after the House, most likely. But this became a very fractious issue for the online left community, and this is the issue that basically drew a line right down the middle between the imperialist left and the independent left, shall we say, the indie media. And I'll name the players in a bit, but we're still talking history here. So the idea was that the squad members, because of the just how close the numbers were between Republicans and Democrats in the House, that the squad members, if they voted together, could put pressure on Nancy Pelosi to bring that Medicare for All vote to the floor. That's all. The whole idea was just to get people to vote on it. Nobody expected it to pass. It was just to make sure that everybody was committed. You'd find out who was really for it and who was not. Even at this stage, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, I'm no expert, but even at this stage, they were against it. Nobody wanted to be called out. Even the people who, like Pramila Jayapal, who's not a squad member, but she's a House member. She's one of the people who was backing Bernie. She was, she proposed the whole Medicare for All bill. I think it's her bill. And when asked about it, she said that voting for it would kill the movement. Now, this has been addressed in Jimmy's show. I don't need to plagiarize everything that he's done. You should actually go check out what these folks have done with their original journalism, shall we say. But the squad did not vote for, or did not press to have a vote for Medicare for All forced. In fact, what AOC did was she was grandstanding on Twitter and calling it violence and saying that this is not the way you should handle politicians. They don't want you to put pressure on them. Okay? They are the elites and you are not. And that was the whole saga of Force the Vote. That's effectively what happened with the political side of it. While Jimmy was actually advocating for it, you could see who was bought and who was not. At the beginning, Cenk Uygur said that he was okay with the idea. And Cenk is I guess we could call him the godfather of the TYT side of this battle. He was okay with it. By January, he'd flipped back to the other side. Not really a surprise because he is a Republican. But he said that force the vote was not a good idea. I think he got his marching orders and they changed. Kyle Kulinski did support force the vote, I think all the way through, which I think marks him as a relatively honest actor. Other people who were, I guess, exposed, such as Ryan Grimm, a DC bureau chief for The Intercept, was fighting against force the vote, running interference, as Jimmy says. And there was no need for anyone to run interference. But that was the force the vote schism. And at the same time, Anna herself, Anna Kardashian, said that forcing the vote made sense to her, something along those lines, but that she considered Jimmy a grifter, a dishonest actor. Which is just a personal attack, and I think unfair given what we know about Jimmy. He's about as far from a grifter as you can be while being a YouTube independent media guy. Okay? But from then, you could tell that she had this kind of animus towards him. Alright? And that was the whole Force the Vote saga. It just left this bad taste in everybody's mouth, and it showed you who was bought and who was compromised, in my opinion. Episode 2 is when it all comes to a head. How does episode 2 start? As with most things, Israel and Palestine. Cenk makes a stupid post about how I don't know what the post was, how people should not be fighting, not his God, how people should not be fighting, what was it? Something stupid about Israel and Palestine. How they were just fighting over a piece of land because they think their gods gave it to them, which is not true. Now, Israelis do have a kind of belief, which is that, that land was promised to them. It's the promised land, promised to Abraham, and that they're going to get it back, rebuild their temple, whatever it is. Palestinians are not. That is not, first of all, that's inaccurate. Palestinians want the land because they're homeless people. They've been booted out of their land, and so on and so forth. So it's not really a religious issue. There are religious overtones, but it is not. It's an issue of people not having a country, which is a whole other story. I'm not even going to link my Israel-Palestine video because that one was really just filler. But that problem was not going to get solved, and Cenk's interpretation was stupid. Everybody thought so. Aaron Mate, who is Jimmy's best friend, I mean, this is the only way to put it. Sorry for Ron Blacone and Graham Elwood, but it's clear that Aaron is his guy. Wrote that his sky god tells him that this is the dumbest tweet ever. Cenk and Anna Kardashian, in a private members only video, not private but members only for TYT. Whoever's paying for the TYT membership, I feel sorry for you. I don't even pay for Jimmy Dore, so that tells you just how bad I must think of the TYT folks. But anyway, they basically malign Mr. Mate, who is a very handsome man, by the way. They tell him, hang on, I gotta lower this a bit here. I gotta look better. They tell him, or they don't. Anna gives him the finger. She says, "Fuck you, Aaron Mate," and all this stuff. Cenk says he's paid by Russians. It is just a very ugly, ugly smear, and they do it behind their paywall, which is so sad. So sad. Anyway, Aaron asks them to recant that statement, or he will press forward with a lawsuit, so on and so forth. I don't think they ever apologized, which, again, they never do that. And what happens afterward is effectively the gates of hell break loose. I'm going to take a look at my notes right now just to see that I'm not missing anything. Told you guys about the Jacobin article, how the vote died. Okay, so Aaron seeks a retraction, right? So they go back and forth, as it is. Kind of shallow. Accusations, evidence, and whatever. And it gets ugly. It starts to take some very ugly overtones. Now this is where it gets really heated, though. Okay. Kardashian sends a DM to Jimmy, the first one in 4 years, since he leaves the show practically. And in it, she says that she is effectively going to Me Too him over previous harassment that he has directed towards her while they were co-workers. Effectively threatening to blackmail him. And that's the interpretation of the actual person who received that note, Jimmy. And that really is, I think, the rational interpretation of anybody who's looking at the message and what happens afterward. Jimmy, in what I'll point out is significant for many reasons, gets ahead of this blackmail. And he straight up does a video where he describes the incident that she was talking about 7 years back, where he said the famous lines, "Nice news skirt," to her while she was bent over picking something up or another, and effectively was revealing too much of herself to him. Nice news skirt, the famous words. Anyway, after that, he felt that he had overstepped it, as he describes, and he wrote an apology to her in an actual card, maybe got her a gift, I don't remember the details. And he said that that was that. Nobody had forced him to apologize, but he felt that that was the right thing to do. And you can imagine, she was his boss, as he put it, at the Young Turks. So that's basically the whole story. Now, I will tell you, I watched an interview that Jimmy did with Tulsi Gabbard, who I think, I don't want to say this, but I think he would elope with her if he got the option. And as much as we all love Steph, yeah, he was clearly like in love with that woman. And that's fine. I think we all kind of have a soft spot for Tulsi Gabbard, especially with that cool white suit she was wearing in that debate when she destroyed Kamala. But which is to say, I'm not gonna say that like Jimmy would not be inappropriate with women. He really does look like the sort of guy to do it. He has the demeanor and he's got the job, comedian, all that. So more likely than not, I do believe he would be inappropriate with women in some situations. But I think he also is a relatively good guy. It's kind of how I see it. So that was the whole blackmail thing. In any case, what we all need to pay attention to is that more than once Jimmy has used the term wartime consigliere, which I think reminds me of Tom Hagen in The Godfather. I think it should remind everybody of Tom Hagen in The Godfather. So I have to wonder who this wartime consigliere is. And I mean, kudos to that person. They did good with that whole run ahead of the blackmail allegations, the smear. So afterward, this is when things kind of broke loose with commentators on the TYT side going after Jimmy Dore hard because misogyny and sexism and Me Too is a very, very potent weapon, even with the way that the Democrats have destroyed it with Tara Reid, and Biden. And it still works for some reason. Not that well, but it is a very potent threat just the same. And it just kind of went back and forth, and I'm going to talk about that bit soon. But the misogyny was basically the final straw because there are so many videos of the Young Turks in their early years being ridiculously exploitative of women and very inappropriate. Unfortunately, Kyle Kulinski, who sided with Jimmy on Force the Vote, was silent. I think this is for many reasons. I don't know if I go into it on my profile of him, but effectively he's in a very corporate place right now, both in his show with Crystal Ball, who I like, but who is an opportunist. She is truly a grifter, which is fine. We all kind of have to make a living. Paying ourselves through a super PAC is probably one of the better ways to do it. If I had a super PAC, I would do it. If I had a regular PAC, I would do it. I'd work hard for it, though. In any case, his association with Crystal Ball makes him corporate, and his being part of the TYT network also makes him a little too close for comfort with the Young Turks. So he did the neutral thing and stayed Switzerland. He did the Switzerland thing and stayed neutral. Until somebody kind of pushed him into making a statement. And he did. He released a video. I didn't watch the whole thing because I find this whole issue relatively bland, but I find Kyle particularly boring. His takes are milk toast, right? I think you should call him Milk Toast Kyle. But he made that video, and the glaring issue was his position on the Me Too and blackmail thing, where he did not mention the blackmail. He made it seem like Jimmy was just harassing Anna Kardashian out of nowhere, which is not the case. He was blackmailed and he had to bring up that issue. And it goes on and on. So, whatever. Point being, Kyle had to make another video. This one even longer because Jimmy Dore and Aaron responded to him in a 1 hour long video, which was fun to watch. Jimmy seemed hurt in that video, which is very unfortunate. But where were we? I mean, Kyle makes a 55-minute video. I don't have time for that. I spent an hour replying to somebody on my last video who thought that writing an essay at me about critical race theory was like smart. Like, whatever, dude. I'll respond, but I told him keep it to 3 points next time, not 13. I know 13 is it's unlucky, I think, in Western culture. I know it's unlucky in Western culture. There are no 13th floor, 13th floors on buildings, some of them. But I think it's lucky in Arab culture. So maybe this dude was an Arab despite his name. Anyway, I got sidetracked there. I got really sidetracked. I gotta look at my notes. So Kyle's 55-minute video, 13 points. Switzerland. I don't know, man. I don't know. So that's basically what happens. Kyle makes this long video that I did not want to watch because he's so boring. And it's whatever. Who cares what you say at this point? It's fine. It's all right. You're not the worst guy. Just say sorry, move on. That's the way to go. Because even worse, Kyle and Crystal ghosted Jimmy. Imagine you are signed up to be on somebody's show, which I have not had the privilege of being yet, but someday. And on the day itself, they put Hassan Piker, who is just a TYT sleazeball, basically, but for Zoomers and maybe millennials, which is like even worse. He is a real, truly young Turk, not a middle-aged McCarthyite, as Aaron says. But it's just a jackass. Is what I understand it to be. So they ghosted him, which is, I think, a heinous thing to do. If you have integrity, you must be upfront with people. And this is something that was an issue with one of the TYT scumbags affiliates, Sam Cedar, and how he jumped into an argument with Steven Crowder, who was like, whatever, I made a video about it, but you have to deal with people with principle. That's the only way to have a productive and harmonious society and productive dialogue. Okay? We all have to hold ourselves to higher standards. So, in any case, around this time, or right after it, the gates of hell broke loose with all of the TYT content, with Cenk talking about horses, with him talking about Britney's cooch, with all kinds of disgusting things, which is like, more power to you. Him and his N-word rant as well. But, don't throw stones from glass houses, effectively. So the TYT kind of exposed themselves as the worst people in the media, corporate funded sellouts, effectively. And Jimmy Dore, I think, and his gang win this one. Now, just a little word on how I split or view the rift in independent left media and corporate imperialist media, shall we say. On the left side, in the blue corner, you have Jimmy Dore. I hope he becomes the godfather, and I still want to know, the godfather of the left, and I still want to know who his wartime consigliere is, because as I said, he used that term more than once. So I'm very curious. Is it Aaron? Is it Steph? Could it be Graham? Maybe somebody else. I hope we find out. But along with Jimmy, you have Aaron Mate, you have Max Blumenthal, you have Glenn Greenwald. A little further out, but I still associate them with this side of the media. You've got the dynamic duo, Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper, formerly of the Rolling Stone magazine's election era podcast. What was it called? Useful Idiots. There's a few other people. Let me just make sure I don't miss anyone. And my favorite, the woman who we don't really know, Caitlin Johnstone. Johnstone. She's got all these tweets. She's even got Jack following her. But nobody knows who this woman is. She writes for Mint Press News. So this independent side of the media I call the gray zone, Mint Press, Jimmy Dore side. On the TYT side, you have the worst people, and they're coming. They're still coming out because this drama attracts leeches, and I'm sorry to be in on this too, but I'm a grifter and I'm just trying to get people interested in my channel. On the TYT side, you have the actual TYT, what we call Rebel Headquarters, Cenk and Anna, who are also a dynamic duo, but very bad. Very bad. I always feel sorry for John because he's John Iadarola. He's a really fun presenter, and he looks like he would be my friend. That's what I always say. Because he looks like a friend of mine who doesn't like me that much anymore. But anyway, they also have affiliates. Kyle Kulinski is an affiliate, as I understand it, of the Young Turks. He still is neutral. We still forgive him. He's just got to come back into the fold and be a good boy, good guy, good man, whatever. I'm not trying to make him sound like a boy. Um, but who you really need to look at as particularly nasty are the Minority Report people. Now, is it Majority Report? I think it's Majority Report, but they're losers. Sam Cedar, scumbag. Alliteration, SSS. Okay, maybe put the scumbag in the middle as a boxing nickname. His co-host Emma Vigeland is basically what the media were trying to smear the and what was that girl from The Office, the receptionist. Um, they were trying to smear that actress for a while because she just so happens to be a Southern belle, socialite sort of girl coming from the South. So she went to some square dances with some whites only square dances, and she was having a good time. So they had to smear her. The media always cares about smearing good, God fearing folk from the South. All right. So they went after her hard, and that was unfair because she's just a nice girl from the office. She dumped Andy for that Pete, Farty Pete or whatever his name was called. But she did the right choice. She made the right decision, and they came after her anyway. All right. So the media tried to smear this poor lady, who is just a great actress and a nice girl. Emma Vigeland is basically the same as her, but like really bad, where she's just chilling for the left. As I understand it, there's a guy called Robbie Jager who did a deep dive on, I guess, her parents or whatever, and found that they were Democrat Party insiders and such. So that's who you got, Sam Cedar and Emma. They also did, following the blackmail story coming out, the Majority Report also made a video where they were talking about those allegations, and they had the terrible, awful person called Nomiki Konst. So this is also another one of those parasite people who just jumps on board. She was a Sanders supporter at one point, but not really. Not really. Sanders supporters, you can always tell who they are because they have some self-respect. She was just like, I can't even watch this. I can't watch this clip. I don't know what she was doing. But she was just doing this whole act where it was so painful for her to watch the Jimmy Dore clip talking about the blackmail and the harassment incident. And this is not to say that, again, I mentioned earlier in the video, I believe that Jimmy could have accidentally, unintentionally harassed people. And he apologized, okay? That's like the number one essential thing. You say sorry, okay? And make it right. But the whole line that she had in this video between these grifters, I'm willing to talk, was that she just kept saying, Jimmy Dore is a misogynist. He's a misogynist. He's so misogynistic. He's so misogynistic. Maybe he is, but like, if that's all you're gonna say, no, that's not fair. That's totally unfair. And they did not mention the blackmail, as you can expect. All they did was just make it into a Me Too thing, which is so spot on for that channel. Disgusting. Who else do we have on that side? Oh God, I got them, almost all of them, but my favorite, and this guy is coming up, waiting in the wings. They've got like a debate coming up soon. A debate. One of the lowest, scummiest people on the internet, and I'm going to make a video about him and about his tankies, his followers who are called tankies from here on out. Vaush. Just this stupid dude who also likes horses just like Cenk does, who has all kinds of strange takes, strange proclivities, and is just overall a terrible, disgusting, greasy dude. So I will go into that just for the drama of it soon enough. If you don't come at me first, I'm going to come at him, right? In a nutshell, though, I think that's the whole saga explained with all the characters. I hope it... keep in mind, I guess we can just throw this in at the end. The whole reason that Aaron was smeared was because he was skeptical about the use of a certain type of weapon in the Syrian... It's not even a civil war at this time. The Syrian war, it's just a war. It's an all-out, everybody for himself kind of war, and it is crazy. That's another story entirely. But that's apparently why he's paid by Assad, because he's a skeptic about imperialism. And that's how the lines are drawn. Battle lines. So everybody to their stations. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've made it all the way to the end, you have to like and subscribe. Like, give me a break. This has been a lot of work. If you've made it here also, leave a comment. As I said, I've got a lot of stuff that has to come down the pipeline before I can share it with you. What do I mean about the pipeline? I don't know. I say stupid things sometimes. There's stuff brewing. All right. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd like to hear. For me, personally, I like to have YouTube videos that are longer, that I can just pop into my ears with the headphones and listen to while I do something more productive with my day, like dishes or go for a walk. So that is that, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace.